on Tuesday.
You know, the former president's on the stump. He still talks about the 2020 election a lot, that it was stolen, in his words. There are other gubernatorial candidates, like in Arizona, who use that as a big part of their campaign. Do you think the 2020 election was stolen?
Well, it's certainly a concern to a lot of folks here in Michigan because of the way the election was handled by our Secretary of State. She did things that were considered unlawful by a judge. We have to make sure our elections are secure, and what happened in 2020 doesn't happen again. It was obviously a different election. We had COVID going on. There was the opportunity for changes to be made. This Secretary of State made those changes, sending out absentee ballot applications to everyone in the state, bringing in Zuckerbucks, reducing the signature match. We are calling for common sense election law in the state of Michigan. The legislature already passed this. The governor vetoed it. She's very against voter ID. We think if you don't like voter ID, there's a question as to why you don't like voter ID. So there were definitely things in the 2020 election that have left us concerned about how it was operated.
Yeah, but Joe Biden won Michigan by 154,000 votes. I covered the recount in Tallahassee, Florida in 2000. There were 537 votes that decided that election. 154,000 is a different thing. So are you getting to the point where you say on the stump that the election was stolen, understanding all the concerns you just said?
You know, I've always focused on the concerns when I've been out there. You can, if you talk to people across the state of Michigan, I've always focused on the way the election was handled and how we need to make sure it is secure in the future, and that we don't have people looking back and saying we're questioning what actually happened.
Yeah. Your Republican opponents say former President Trump made a mistake by this late endorsement. Obviously, you could understand that they say that, but they also say that you are essentially establishment, that you're endorsed by the wealthy, politically active DeVos family. Former Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, as you know, stepped down from the Trump administration after the January 6th riot, and she said in her resignation letter to President Trump at the time, quote, "There's no mistaking the impact your rhetoric had on the situation, and it is the inflection point for me," when she resigned. So do you agree with Secretary DeVos about the president's culpability or responsibility in some way for January 6th?
The Secretary knows that she and I differ on that subject. I want to make sure that political speech is always protected, because that could open a can of worms for anybody on both sides of the party. But the Secretary knows that I disagree with her on that point.